Hello, I'd like to welcome you to Accounting 6301 for the first summer session of 2025. My name is Wayne Counts. I'd like to take a minute and introduce myself, tell you a little bit about myself, tell you a little bit about the course, and unfortunately tell you a few of the rules that we need to follow while we're in the course. All right, so like I said, my name is Wayne Counts. I'm been a professor here at UTPB a little over 10 years at this time. I was also here before from 2004 to 2010. I got my bachelor's degree here in finance, actually, and then I discovered how much accounting, specifically tax, ran the financial world, and I got my master's in accounting at Texas Tech University, as well as my PhD up there. I've been doing this now. I've been teaching for approximately 30 years now. I've been teaching, and part of that was as a TA while I was a graduate student up at Texas Tech. I've taught there at Texas Tech as a graduate student. I've taught at the Oklahoma City University, taught at Tianjin University of Finance and Economics in China, just a couple of semesters over there. A course you will be very similar to a course you'll be taking, Accounting 6302. That was for their MBA students. I've also taught at Youngstown State University up in Ohio, and everywhere I've been, it's been a pleasure. It's been a great thing. But I moved to Odessa, Midland, Odessa, in 1981 the first time, and so this is home to me, and so it's good to be here, good to be home. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're taking this class. Obviously, this is an accounting class, a leveling class. So this is primarily for MBA, other graduate students, masters in finance. Some of you coming into accounting that don't have business background, so you haven't had the introductory accounting course. So this is to just kind of level you up on the accounting side of things so that you can do that. Accounting very much is the language of business, and you'll find not so much in this class, but in if you go up in accounting and finance use very much the same tools. A lot of times, the accounting side is more on constructing things, and so we have a little bit of a backward looking uh, uh, tend to things, and finance is a little more forward looking, but we all use the same templates and that sort of thing. We construct financial statements and that sort of thing, and they use financial statements to make their projections. Um, but yeah, everybody in business uses accounting. Budgets are certainly a big thing, regardless of whether you're even in the marketing department or delivery sales. You're going to have to deal with budgets. That's very much an accounting function. Um, One of the things that most people misunderstand about is accounting is not a solitary work. It's not a clerk sitting in an office all day with a bunch of papers. Um, it is very much a social thing. Very little accounting is done as an individually. More some tax work is still done with just mostly the papers and that, but very much a social element. A lot of teamwork is done in accounting these days. The old days of where you added up things and stuff like that, the computers do all that anymore. Accounting is about making the decisions about where things go. So if you're not going to be an accountant, why do you need to study this? Well, number one is if you don't, accounting is so important that if you don't understand what's going on with the accounting, the accountants will own you. And so you just, if you take on faith what they tell you, then they can tell you pretty much. They they won't flat out lie about it, but they'll spin it the direction that they want it to go, just like anybody else. We're human beings too. Um, that being said, my old joke about accounting is one of the biggest problems with accounting courses is that it is taught by accountants, and the reason that that's a problem is we can't be creative. Creative accountants go to jail. So we tend to be pretty straightforward about things. Um, it can get a little bit dry. Accounting is an abstraction. That you can't go out into the universe, the world, and find some natural law of accounting. Accounting is an abstraction. Money itself, which is what most accounting is based on, is an abstraction. And so we're an abstraction of an abstraction. So accounting is a little bit different in that. Um, it literally, and I don't mean this in any way derogatorily, or pejoratively at all, but accounting is dogma. We literally got in a room, took a vote, and decided this is how we're going to do things. And there's a reason for that, which we'll get into as we go throughout these chapters. But it's not some way where somebody goes out and says, "Oh, I know a better way." Well, that's great. You may know a better way, but that's still not how we do it. It would have to go through a series of better ways, and people deciding that it's going to be a better way. So that being said, the principles we follow are what's known as GAAP. GAAP stands for Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. You'll be studying that for the first half of this semester. When you get up into chapter 14 or so, we'll move over a little bit into managerial accounting. And that managerial accounting doesn't have GAAP. That is literally where you can use whatever is most beneficial to you because it's all internal. We're not going to show those numbers to outside people. It's to help us make decisions better. Strictly, that's why it's called managerial accounting. That being said, this is a good course. For a lot of you, it'll be your first course in graduate school. It's a prereq for a couple other courses, the finance course, the 60 accounting 6302 managerial accounting course. So that I want to welcome you. A few things, some housekeeping issues, literally. You may or may not be aware that the university is remodeling the building that I office in, the main building, Mesa building, is being remodeled, and we are having to vacate our offices here. So the best way to get hold of me is through email. I would prefer if you use the standard UTPB email. I know a lot of people like Canvas email, but it has some problems. It's very difficult to attach documents to it. It threads, and so you can't find the stuff. And so if you just use the regular UTPB email, I would be greatly appreciated. That's the best way to get hold of it. Since we're vacating our offices, the only time I will be up here, the IT department will be backing up our computers here. We're not sure. We sent in, but we expect within the next week or two. So if we don't have computers, there's literally no point in being here. The phone, if you're a phone person, I'm sorry, but phone is just not a very good way to get hold of me this semester or for the fall semester either. We're supposed to be back in our offices by January. I'll believe it when I see it. They started the first floor a year ago, and they're still not completely finished, but they opened it up about 2 weeks ago. So, and that was only supposed to take 6 months. So, the third floor has been out of there. I'm on the second floor. The third floor have been out of their offices since last November. They won't be back in anytime soon. So hopefully we'll be back in sooner rather than later. But you know, the building is 50 years old. It does need an update. So I'm not disgruntled about them updating the building. It's just um, it makes it hard to have that. That being said, I'm more than willing to have virtual office hours with you. Uh, be more than happy to do any of that. Um, and that usually works well. Email works really well. Part of the reason because I type so slow that I have time to think things out very well. But by the time I have typed it out, and I can explain it pretty well. Um, so the email usually works pretty well with that sort of thing. Now, the structure of this course, it's broken down into three sections. The first section is 6 chapters, chapters 1 through 6 of your book. The second is 5 chapters, and then the third section is only 2 chapters. So this is a 7-week course. So basically, it's going to be 3 weeks, 3 weeks, and 1 week. That's why there's only 2 chapters in that final bit. But I do open that final group up. Now, I have set it up, this course, I have set it up so that everything that's due for the first section is due June 1st on that. So I encourage you not to delay doing that. Now, I do that purposefully because there's a lot of you, obviously work, but you have kids, vacations, all that kind of stuff that go on during the summer. That's part of it, and so I don't have like weekly. Unfortunately, we know that's probably not the ideal learning um, environment. The way people learn is through spaced repetition, being exposed to material, resting, letting the mind clear, and then seeing the material again that reinforces it. And that's how we learn and put it into long-term memory. Now, that being said, some people can cram. Most people try to cram. For every one person who actually can get away with cramming for accounting, um, there's probably 4 or 5 who think they can not. Now, let me warn you about accounting. Accounting is not rocket science. It's not going to be the toughest subject you ever encounter in your life. That being said, there is something about it that some people struggle with, and it has nothing to do with intelligence. I believe it's what I call this duality in accounting. When I say duality, what I'm saying is in accounting, there is never a single thing that goes on. There is always at least two. There could be any number after two, but always at least two things are happening. For example, let's say that you own a convenience store. Somebody comes in and buys a bottle of water out of the cooler. They come up there, and so they give you some cash, or they give you their debit card. And so now your assets go up in the form of cash, but your assets also go down in the form of inventory. You have one less bottle of water, but you got paid for that bottle of water. So that's two things that happened right there, right? You got cash in, you got a bottle of water going out. But you also have to recognize that you had a revenue and a cost of goods sold. So you had a revenue and expense. So if you sold the bottle of water for more than it cost you, so let's say it cost you 75 cents and you sold it for $1, you've made 25 cents. So your revenue is $1, your cost of goods sold is 75 cents. And so your what we call gross profit, just the cost, that doesn't include the overhead like the lights or the employees or anything else, just your gross profit is 25 cents. So in that single example, you've got 4 things that happen there. Your asset went up in cash, your asset went down in inventory, You recognized the revenue in a dollar, and you recognized an expense in the inventory being gone. And so that's why I'm saying there's always multiple things that are going on in accounting. And for some reason, some people struggle with that concept. Um, and so if you get that down, accounting is really pretty straightforward and pretty easy. Um, Again, a lot of my undergraduate students tell me I got into accounting because um, I'm good at math and oh, I really don't like dealing with people. Well, first of all, we don't do the math, the computers do. Those days of Bob Cratchit sitting there keeping books for Ebenezer Scrooge are long gone. Um, the computer does the math anymore. What we have to do is decide what it should do. Every once in a while, so we only do arithmetic, occasionally a little bit of very basic algebra, not even complex algebra. But that's kind of the accounting side of things. Um, but one of the things that intrigues me about accounting, and I haven't quite fully understood about teaching accounting, is that it comes more like a skill. So, you can read all the books in the world on hitting a golf ball or hitting a baseball or kicking a soccer ball, whatever it might be. But until you go out there and do it and practice it over and over and over again, you don't get good at it. Doesn't matter how much you know about it, until you practice it, you don't get good at it. And that seems to hold true for accounting. You have to practice and do it in order to understand what's going on with it. Um, Again, you learn a lot about businesses when you know what the accounting is like, and so it's a very useful thing. Now, we have a few rules in this class. There are 3 exams. Um, they're all worth 125 points apiece, so 375 points. Um, and so those will be the thing about those exams is they are open for 3 days, and you have to schedule yourself. So the first 2 exams open on a Friday and close on Sunday night. The last exam, because the semester is over on a Thursday, the last exam opens on a Tuesday and is closes on Thursday night. That's when the semester is over. So you have to schedule yourself to be available during those 72-hour windows. The test will take about 2 hours, and that's um, what it will take. You can use a calculator. It's closed book. All of them are closed book. The final is comprehensive. Like we said, that there's only 2 new chapters on the final exam. Most of the exam, that final exam, will come from the previous 11 chapters, other 11 chapters in that. Obviously, the course is being conducted on Canvas. I've spent the last couple of days updating everything. I think, I try my best. But if you do find a broken link or something that doesn't seem correct, email me, let me know about that. Your homework is done in my business course. And so you can either log on that. I will attach a student handout for my business course to this video, the email that goes out sending you this video, and or you can just log on directly through the through Canvas. If you either log on to an assignment, or up in the upper left-hand corner, there's a a link that says My Business Course. I think it's the second link from the top. On the left-hand side there, it will take you to that, and your assignments will do that. So I look forward to a great semester. Please, 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 if you're struggling, or the homework, my view of the homework is that you should try to do it on your own. I have no problem if you want to talk to your colleagues and class friends, whatever. But the homework should not be brutal. If you're struggling to get an answer, and you've tried the problem a couple of times, stop, because practice makes permanent. It doesn't make perfect. So if you're struggling to figure out what's going on, please email me and let me know, so that we don't just, it's not supposed to be beating your head against the wall. And I can, hopefully I can help clear that up, what you're missing on that. I don't know if we're going to have tutors. The Success Center generally has a couple of accounting tutors. Our two accounting tutors for the last year have been great. Unfortunately, one of them just graduated on Saturday, so she won't be with us. The other one is an excellent tutor also, and she's still around, but I don't know if they have them for the summer term. But I only have the one class for summer one, so I'm more than happy to help you with problems. Get on a Teams with you. We use Teams at UTPB, and help you solve some of those issues. A lot of it can be done by email, so don't hesitate to call me. Obviously, a very doable course. A lot of people have gotten through this, but it's not easy. It's very few people sit there and say, "Oh, that was a breeze." There is a certain amount of accounting that you need to know in order to be a graduate business student, whether it's an MBA, energy, business, finance, or an accountant, of course. And so and I look forward to helping you and getting to know you throughout the semester. There's a little bit of an introductory. I'm happy to learn about you, a little introduction that you should do. Oh, and the authentication. We are required. It's not just through, it's actually federal law, I think, Department of Education. Who knows where that stands right now. But there's a rule that online students have to authenticate. You have to show a picture of you and a photo ID. And the photo ID has to be legible. Make sure when you load it that I can see it. And I do actually look at them. So that's just a requirement that we have to do. If you get to the end of the semester and haven't authenticated, then I'm afraid you'll have to take the course again. So make sure you do that. I've given you a couple of weeks, I think, to authenticate, but get that done. And other than that, I would not procrastinate if I were you. There's again, I didn't put just endless amounts of homework in here, but it's also not going to be done in 30 minutes. So take that as expected, and get after it. And I wish you all the best of luck, and I hope to hear from you throughout the semester. So with that, I will log off. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me, and look forward to a great semester. Thank you.